Yeah, this is kind of a cool one because it's the whole lifeguard thing and the ocean and plays a big part in this episode. And obviously there's always a stalker.
Yes.
Every week. And but this particular episode, I think that what's cool about the show is that you always think it's somebody else, and then you find that it's not them. So we have a little bit of that going on here as well.
We were just, joking about the rain and the pier, but is that kind of a cool thing, to get to film in that kind of environment on the show and that it can take you to places?
It is, because I've lived at the beach a long time here, and so when you get to film, at the pier and at the beach and all the memories you have of that. I actually live right over here,
oh, wow.
Santa Monica Shores, and so I love it. I think it's always a great backdrop, and I've been hoping for it with the show because we haven't really touched on the beach at all.
So how much of Jack's backstory do you know? We haven't seen it all.
Yeah, I'm sort of trusting Kevin to take me on this little ride, and he has so far. In the pilot we find out a lot of darker stuff about him, and obviously with his son and following his son, and trying to have a relationship with him, and then Amanda, certainly what's happening with her. So how it all resolves itself, I'm not sure. I think it's an ongoing thing to try to chip away at it and figure out who he is and what exactly has happened to him. Obviously there's been some bad stuff. I think Jack is a character that really wants to change his life and looks to change, and sort of a guy in flux, trying to outrun his past, and it always seems to nip at his heels.
Is that something that drew you to this character?
Yeah, I always like that. I always like when, people are flawed and present themselves one way and really are a lot different. And I think that Jack definitely has that. I think he's heroic in many ways. I think he's a great cop, but at the same time, I think that his personal life is a mess, and there's a lot of things he never really figured out as a man. And we get to watch that and explore that.
As you said, he is heroic, and he is, trying to do the right thing and helping people. That being the case, though, would you be intrigued to see just how dark this thing he's done in the past is? Do you think that there's a certain line you shouldn't cross? You're like, oh, I don't know, maybe this guy did have this very dark side.
Yeah. It's always interesting with, certainly in network television, because it's, it's a lot different than cable, where you can't go that dark. I think you have to keep it on the heroic side. On cable you can go as dark as you want, and people will forgive you. But I think with network, the audience is less forgiving of that stuff.
So has Kevin given you any specific hints, or you're just like, you have?
Not really, no. I'm trusting him to take me on this ride and figure out what my relationships are within the cast, and to figure out where does Jack end up in it all. I'm not quite sure.
Do you know anything about how some of the bigger story arcs are going to play out between now and the end of the season?
Well, I just know that obviously Beth's stuff is going to play out. Her past is going to. I think by episode 17 we're going to find out a lot, and I think that I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about or not talk about, but I think we're going to definitely explore her past, and Jack will be a part of that ride as well.
As Jack and Beth are, starting to trust each other more as partners, but she hasn't let him in on everything going on with her.
Yeah.
Is when he finds out, anything he can hint is how he might react to that, given that, he is very focused on trying to stop guys like that. They've actually dealt with this specific guy.
Sure.
Would that be maybe a little, not dangerous, but make him pretty focused to find out that someone so close to him is in danger?
Yeah, I think, he's always trying to win Beth's trust, since the pilot, and I think that she's been, really skeptical about him. I don't think she really wanted him for the job, and she was kind of forced into it. And I think that the trust issue has been looming large in their relationship, so I think that's going to get better over time. I think there's going to get a point where she does trust him a lot more than she does now, and I think they're going to definitely grow closer.
How's it been working with Elizabeth?
Elizabeth's great. I love her. She's just, she's a fresh air, and she brings so much energy, and she's beautiful and smart, and she's strong, and I think that she's able to really take Jack on in a formidable way. So I think she was a great addition to the cast.
You and Maggie both have really strong personalities and play these characters that are very driven. Is it fun for you, interesting for you to have that dynamic of them as partners, because they're both sort of alpha characters?
Yeah.
How they figure that out?
Yeah, it is, because ultimately at the end of the day, she's my boss. And I have to listen to her and take orders from her, and she signs my checks.
Yeah.
So I definitely have to listen to her. But it's great. She's a tremendous actress, and she's a movie star. So it's great to be with her every day, and to be on screen with her, and to watch her, and watch the shows and see what she does.
There's always this tension in these kind of shows when you have a male-female lead kind of paired together.
Uh-huh.
Is there that looming idea out there that this would be the Bones relationship?
Right.
You end up with Bones babies.
We all want to be Bones. 11 years. Yeah, I'm sure that's always a part of it. Sort of the moonlighting thing of the sexual tension that goes on with these relationships, and are they going to be together? Are they not going to be together? And they fight. They're gonna make up. I think the audience always wishes that they are together at some point. So I think there's always a hint of that, a sprinkle of that, no matter what we do.
Kevin obviously has a great sort of history of coming up with these very clever, macabre ideas. Are you always kind of like, whoa, when you see the stuff that comes on the show?
I mean, I'm sort of used to it after American Horror Story, so not much really shocks me.
Right.
But I think Kevin does a tremendous job with creating the scare, creating the story, and creating the fright, and also sprinkling the character stuff in there as well. That's not an easy thing to do when you really are a procedural, and you have to sort of make sure that you tell that story every week. That's a huge thing, because it has to be different. There's been so many procedurals. How do you make it different? What's the twist on it? The character stuff. Those are big things to do each week.
Kevin, and you mentioned American Horror Story. Kevin, Ryan, these are guys who you can sort of see their personality in their work. There's a stamp to their work.
Yeah.
You enjoy working with creators like that really kind of get like that's a Kevin Williamson show. That's a Ryan Murphy show.
Yeah, I mean, I've always tried to surround myself with good creators. Like David Kelly and Ryan Murphy, and Kevin, and Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yeah.
I think that it's really important, because those are the guys who are going to protect you at the end of the day. Because television is such a cutthroat business, and you're only as good as your last episode, and that mentality is pervasive in television. So I think you need that 800-pound gorilla to really protect you and go out there and to secure their vision. Really, those are the people that I've always aligned myself with, because they take you to the promised land.
Now, I'm sure that this takes up the majority of your time, but do you have any other projects that you're also have going, or you have kind of coming up in the future?
I have a movie. I don't know what the title. The working title was Survivor. It was Mila Jovovich and Pierce Brosnan and myself. So I'm not quite sure when that comes out. I think late next year. But yeah, this takes up all my time. All of my time.
You've been plenty, like you said, you've been plenty busy with this, but have you been following kind of Ryan Murphy talking more about how the American Horror Story seasons are actually connected?
Oh, yeah.
Story-wise, and is that, kind of interesting for you to learn, having been in two of them, and at some point would it be fun for you to return? Who knows how, given how those shows, go crazy?
Oh, sure. No, I love American Horror Story. It was such a great thing for me, and I love doing season 1 and season 2, and I'm always up for it. It's always fun. It's always fun.
Does that make your mind think, when you hear, oh, it's all connected, it's all the same universe? You're like, well, but I played two characters in the same era who look the same. How does that all work?
Yeah. I don't know. He connects the dots later, I think.
Right.
So, but it's amazing to think that they're all connected. That's really the genius of him.
So today, filming the theme, the Stalker is Lifeguard. Can you tease any other ones that might be
Other episodes?
And the procedural kind of storylines coming up.
Oh wow, God. You know what? You know what happens is you do all these shows in a row, and you're like, huh? Because they come so hard and fast.
Right.
So what is coming up? Do we know?
Cyberbullying one coming up. I think we shot that.
Oh, the cyberbullying, yes.
She was saying the same thing
I know
earlier.
Man.
The overarching stuff, you can't get that away.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I know what's going on with your characters, with the
Right.
the Stalker with you.
So no, we can't.
How about some guest stars? Any other interesting guest stars coming up?
I'm trying to think. What do we have?
Too many
Nobody's
mysteries.
super famous.
I'm curious. I think Phoebe said you guys hadn't really worked together yet, but have you worked with her at all?
Yeah, we worked last night.
Oh, you
and,
did? Okay.
yeah, she was great. She did a really emotional scene on the pier last night, and it was really cool because she was the woman was going to they wanted to jump into the water over the pier, and this was really just a real psycho, this girl. And Phoebe was really frightened, and the woman had a knife, and then we came in, and I had a gun trained on her, and Phoebe was really upset, and I thought it was a really nice moment for her.
Is it interesting for you working with these guest actors because they have to kind of go to some, in a few days' time, they come in here and they have to play characters at their most sort of heightened, scary place? Is that interesting for you to see that when you're bouncing off these people?
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's television. It's very fast.
Right.
You know what I mean? The script comes the day before, and you're shooting it, and you're trying to learn your lines, and you have a new director, and pages are always changing, and guest stars coming in, and we're doing all this in 8 days.
Yeah.
So it's really like a real roller coaster the entire ride. You just don't know what's happening, everything's changing. You're just gunning and shooting, and then the next script comes, and you start thinking, the next script's probably coming out today. And
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a whirlwind each and every time.
That's why it all blurs together.
Yeah, I guess so.
What are some of the things that you like or you dislike about your character?
I think I do like the fact that Jack is really good at what he does. I think that he's, like I said before, he's a really good cop. He takes his job very seriously, and I think that he has a knack for it. I think being on the NYPD homicide squad, I think that really helped him. And then coming out to LA, sort of a fish out of the water scenario, I think that he's able to adapt well. And the things about him that are not so great is his inability to stay connected. Obviously his dark past. There's tentacles in place there. His trying to have a relationship with his son, but the fact that he hasn't had a relationship with his son, I think that he's truly a flawed guy. He's made a lot of mistakes. He hasn't figured it out exactly. How it all works. So he struggles. He struggles to make it all work. And the only thing he really knows is how to be a cop. That's the one thing that he can rely on, because everything else sort of falls away. But he is trying. He is really. I think that's the best thing about him, is that he's attempting to have relationships.
You mentioned the fish out of water aspect. Again, like you said, the show moves fast. There's a lot to deal with, both with the ongoing story and the case of the week. But do you keep that in your mind? Like you said, we're filming out here today, but it's like this would not be normal, terrain for your character.
No, I like that, because it's like, again, I look around and the beach, and I'm used to the concrete jungle of New York.
Yeah.
And, the people out here are different. And, everything is different. So I always keep that in mind when I'm playing the scene.
Are you hoping that we might sort of meet some more people from his past and see more?
I hope so. If we have the luxury of doing that, that'd be amazing. But right now we have to, finish out the season.
Right.
Well, we always ask if you have a message for your fans.
Yeah. I mean, I love my fans. My fans are some of the best in the world, and they show up, and loyal, and you know they watch Stalker, you know, each and every week, and they tweet about it, and Instagram about it, and Facebook about it, and I just think that you know they're why I'm here. You know, they're the why